Hello and welcome to this recording in a series of Active Directory demos. So today we'll be doing some demonstration on Active Directory certificate services. And just going straight to the point, what we'll be demonstrating today will be how to set up your offline Active Directory certificate authority and how to use that in your enterprise environment. So what we'll be demoing today is this. So we'll be demonstrating how to deploy and configure a two-tier certificate authority hierarchy. And there are certain steps that we'll be completing to get this working properly. So first thing that we'll be doing is we'll be deploying an offline root certificate authority. Um, so after completing that, what we'll do is we'll create a DNS record for our offline root certificate authority. Then after that, we'll deploy an enterprise um, subordinate certificate authority. So we'll be doing all this um, today. So let's get right to it. So um, I think most of us are already familiar with the concept of Active Directory certificate authority. The series is more of demonstrations, not really going into explanations. So we have a Hangout as a group. So if you just search on Google Plus for MCSE study group, you'll find a group where we have regular Hangouts and we'll discuss some of the theory behind some of these concepts. But just this series, let's just get through and just do a demonstration of this. So in this series, I actually have 4 servers in front of me now. Just virtualized server. So we have one called CA server 1, and I have another one called LON server 1, and I have my domain controllers, which is LON DC1 and LON DC2. So we'll be configuring this server. So this will be our offline root CA. So that will be the root CA that will configure, and then we'll shut down. And then this next one will be enterprise subordinate CA, so which will configure, which will kind of be our issuing CA afterwards. So let's get right to it. So this is launch CA1, and let's install Active Directory certificate services on this, and then we'll configure it as an offline root CA. So I'm logged into this. And it's the same way that we install anything that we install um, on Windows Server 2012 how I can use PowerShell to do this, or I can use the GUI to do this. So click on manage, just go the normal next, um, next. And I select the option I want to install, which is the Active Directory Certificate Services. I had the features that it's asking me to add at this point, and I click next. So here it's now telling me what the role that I've selected Active Directory Certificate Services, but it has many role services underneath. So which one of these role services do I want to install? At this point, I just want to install the Certification Authority. There's no point in me installing some of these other ones because after configuring this Certification Authority, this server is going to be shut down. So there's no point in setting up a policy web service. Well, we could make our lives easier. Let's say we want to issue certificate for our enterprise subordinate CA, but for now we just select certification authority and click next, and let's install that. And then let's see if we can go on to the next step. So actually, to make this process not take a lot of time, I'll pause this recording and then I'll resume after it's completed. Okay, so this just completed now. So let's carry on. So I think it took just maybe slightly over 5 minutes to complete. So that depends on the speed of the server that you're using. So after the completion, I'll click on this option to configure Active Directory certificate services on the destination server. So now we've installed the role. Now we need to configure the role. And for most of these, I'll probably be selecting the default option, or I'll leave the credential that I'll be using for the configuration and click next after that. I'll select the role that I want to configure as certification authority, which is the only one that we have installed anyway. And I'll click next after that. So in this case, if I go back to Server Manager, actually, can show this to you. This machine, because it's an offline root CA, it's not joined to the domain. Let's minimize this so you can see it's in a work group. It's not a domain joined machine. So there's no option to install an enterprise CA, because an enterprise CA must be joined to an Active Directory domain. So in this case, I will just select standalone CA, which is what we want anyway, and click next. It's asking me, would this be a root CA or a subordinate CA? So this is the first CA that we're installing in our environment. I'll select root CA, I'll click next. So do I have an existing private key, or do I want to create a new private key? I now have an existing private key, so I'm going to create a new private key. And then it's going to ask me for what's the cryptographic provider that will be used to generate this private key. What type of algorithms do I want to implement? So for this, I'll probably just increase the key length to 4096. I mean, again, we're not going to be going into theory here, but just the stronger the key length, and typically the more secure it is, because then it becomes more difficult to break that. It's probably good to select a stronger hash algorithm than SHA-1, because I think SHA-1 it's something that will be depreciated very soon. So it's something that you probably won't use going forward. But just for this demonstration, you pick SHA-1. I mean, I expect that if anyone's going to be doing this in a production environment, you will do your research on what all these providers and our hash algorithm and key length, what exactly they mean. So in this case, I'll leave the option to allow administrator to interact with the private key and not selected. Now click next. So it's asking me for what's the name of the CA. In this case, I'll just type a more friendly name of Adatum root CA. So leave the name there, click next, and then the validity period, I'll leave 5 years. So some people will make this longer. So again, just do your research before doing this in a production environment as to what the best options are, because any mistake that you make here could be something that will follow you for a very long time, and could be maybe not difficult, but could be something that is tasking, that has a lot of effort involved to repair any wrong choices that you select at this stage. So I'll go ahead and just bring up this location so we can see what's stored in this location after the process completes. So you say, what's the database location and what's the log location for your CA? So we'll just leave the default locations and I'll click next. And then I'll click configure, and then it's going to carry on with the configuration. So again, I'll pause the recording and then resume once this is completed. Okay, that didn't take long at all. That completed really quickly, just a few seconds. So configuration succeeded. I'll click close on this, and I'll close out of this one also. I can click the tools button to open certification authority. So now we've installed certification authority role on this particular server. The next option, we've configured it, generated a private key for it, and then I'll begin to configure this as a root CA. So because it's named root CA doesn't mean it's a root CA yet. It's not doing the job yet. So let's go ahead with the configuration. So I'm going to right click Adatum root CA here and go on the properties. and let's go to the extensions tab. And yeah, so I'm going to select the CRL distribution point, certificate revocation list distribution point. So that's where that's regarding publishing of certificate revocation list. So I'll click the add button here to add another option. So as mentioned previously, that I have a server called Learn Server 1, which will be our enterprise subordinate CA. So this one will be online, while this one will be offline. But the truth is, any machine or any client that's going to be consuming certificate issued by a certificate authority has to have access to the certificate revocation list. So if it's published on this server, and we're going to be switching this server off, and that's something that could potentially be difficult to access. So in this case, what I'm going to be doing is configuring the publishing of this root CA, configuring it to add a location on this server as its CDP, CRL distribution point. So that's what we'll be doing here. So I'll go on the location here and I'll type in http learn server 1 dot adatum.com slash cert data. So this is a location that doesn't exist yet. It's something that will exist very soon. And you see when we get there. And then I select what's the variables, what do we want to publish. I want to publish, what do I want to be included in the name of the CRL that's been published. I'm going to include the certificate authority name in that. So I'll add that. Before I do that, I need to add this here. So certificate authority name, I'll insert that. See, so this is again just up to you. CRL name suffix here. So I'll select that and I'll insert the CRL name suffix. Suffix. Need to copy that one out, put that one right there, and then delta CRL allowed, and I'll insert that also, and then I'll just add .crl at the end. So this is just what will I use to make up the name of this. So I'll add all that, and then if I click OK. So some of these options I want to edit also. So this is the option I just added, including CRLs. Clients use this to find Delta CRL locations. I'm going to say include this in CRLs, and I'm going to say include in CDP extension of issued certificate. So I'm going to say include this one also. And in this case, if I click apply now, it's going to want to restart the service to apply the changes that I've made. But I'm not done with the changes. I'm going to click no for now. So if we look in this location here, you can see some of the locations where the CRL is published. For example, we can go on the C Windows System 32 just to show you what happened here. So this is the database and the logged location of our certificate authority. But I can go to C Windows System 32 and go on the set serve and set enroll, and you can see the certificate authority, the certificate revocation list has been published, and then the the certificate of our root CA. Yeah, so it's issued to issued to Adatum root CA by Adatum root CA. So it's a self-signed certificate, and that's okay because this CA is at the top of the hierarchy. So I got this location added. So let's go ahead and configure the AIA. So the AIA is just a location where the certificate of the CA that issued the certificate is published. So if a certificate is issued by Adatum root CA, so this is the location. If you're looking for the certificate of this CA, this is where it's going to publish its own certificate. So I'll just make a bit of changes there also. So I'll go on the location also, and I'll go add a new location. HTTP learn server 1 dot adatum com slash set data. So in this case, in the variable, I'm going to go on the server DNS name, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to insert set server DNS name. So in this case, I'll put an underscore. It's just what's going to be using for the naming conversion. And I'm going to click the CA name here, and I'm going to insert that afterwards. And then I'm going to select the certificate name, and I'm going to insert that lastly. And I'm going to type .crt here, and then I'm going to click OK. So now let's make some changes here also. So I'll include the IE extension of issued certificate, and I'll click apply. So it wants to restart the service to apply all the changes I've made. Yeah, sure. So I'm going to restart the service to do that. So what we'll do after it applied all these changes, I click OK to that. Yeah. So I can right click this, go to all task. And actually I can go on the revoke certificate here, all task, and publish a new CRL so that it can publish CRL to the location that will configure. But again, it's a location that's not yet ready, but it's going to be ready very soon, and you'll see when we get them. Okay, so it says they want to publish a new CRL, Delta CRL. Yeah, the only option we have for now is a new CRL, so I'll go ahead and click OK. So if I go right click at root CA, go under properties again. So pardon my server here, it's a bit slow. The response is a bit slow. Yeah, so on the general, on the certificate, I can click view certificate to view the same certificate we saw here. So what I'll do is the certificate of this CA, I'm going to be copying it over to my enterprise subordinate CA, the server that will be my enterprise subordinate CA. And the way to do that is go on the details and I'll click copy to file. So just exporting the certificate. So I'll leave the DAR encoded binary. I'll go next. So under the file name, colon server 1, the administrative share C $, and then press next. Oh, actually, let's go. Okay. .ca.cel, save it with the name, go next, and then finish, and then to export it to that location. So now it's been exported to that location, and I'll click OK. Yeah. Okay. So if I go back to again this location and I go back to set serve, set enroll, the other thing I want to do is copy the certificate revocation list that's been published. I want to copy this. I want to move it over to my enterprise subordinate CA long server 1 slash let's just go under this location and I'll just paste this here. Yeah, and then we have a CRL here. Okay. So now the next thing that we'll go to do is to in our enterprise, in our domain, where we have Active Directory domain services already installed. What I'll do over here is I'll open up the DNS management tool and I'll configure the DNS entry for the offline root CA within this domain. So on the forward lookup zones, under the tomb.com, I'll create a new A record, and it's called CA server 1, certificate authority server 1. The IP address is 172.16.0.40. I will have created an associated pointer record, but I don't have the reverse lookup zone configured, so I'll just go ahead and add the host anyway and click done. So now we have the record here, and then I think that's it for this one. So just one more change that I want to make quickly. If we go to launch server 1, let me go on the control panel here. So network status. So I'll just turn on network discovery. And the reason is so that I can access this server from servers on the domain, on my main domain. So make changes to that. I just turn on file and printer sharing. Just confirm that it's switched on. Okay, now that turn on file and printer sharing. Save changes. Let's go back again. Yeah, file and print sharing turned on. Okay. So the exercise that we've done now, we've successfully installed our root CA, standalone root CA, and we've configured it. We've copied the CRL that is published and the CA certificate to the server that will be our enterprise subordinate CA. So now we have to go over to the server that will be enterprise subordinate CA, which is the server, launch server 1, and then do a similar step, but just some differences there. So these are enterprise, the server that will be our enterprise subordinate CA. So again, the first thing that we need to do is to install the Active Directory certificate services on it. So this is something you've seen before. I'll just go ahead and do this one, and I'll make it really quick and then pause the recording. So in this case, I will not only select the certification authority, I'll select the certificate authority web enrollment, which will install all these other features like IIS. And the reason for that is Certificate Authority Web Enrollment provides a simple web interface that allows users to perform tasks such as request and renew certificates, retrieve certificate, revocation list, and enroll for smart card certificate. So this, in essence, will be acting as my issuing certificate authority, because the first one that we configured will be switched off. And so I want to make things easier by presenting a web interface, excuse me, that people can go and actually request certificates from this CA. So I'll go next after that, and I'll install this, and then I'll come back once this is done. Okay, welcome back. So the certificate authority role has been installed on this server that will be an enterprise subordinate CA. So I'll go ahead and click on the option to configure it. And of course, all these steps that we're doing, they're things that can be automated and accomplished using PowerShell. So we've installed the role and role services. So now we need to configure them. So I'll select both option to configure. So now it's asking me, now because this machine is joined to the domain, I have the option to either set it up as an enterprise CA or as a standalone CA. But I want it to be an enterprise CA. I want it joined to the domain because that gives a lot of benefits like publishing to Active Directory, which just makes things much more easier, much more straightforward, and we can have much more automation if it's an enterprise CA joined to the domain. So it says enterprise CAs must be domain members and are typically online to issue certificates or certificate policies. It's a good one. Enterprise CA we want. So now, do we want this to be a root CA or a subordinate CA? No. So we already installed our root CA. We want this to be a subordinate CA. But what that means is the subordinate CAs require an established PKI hierarchy and are authorized to issue certificates by the CA above them in the hierarchy. So what that means is now as I'm selecting the subordinate CA, what I'm going to be generating now will be a certificate request. If I select a root CA, you see that this change, the options here changes from cryptography, CA name, validity period. If I select subordinate CA, now I've got a certificate request here. So what I'll be generating is a certificate request that I will now take over to my offline, to my root CA, which will be switched off very soon, which will authorize the CA to be able to generate and issue and manage CAs. So I'll go ahead and select subordinate CAs and go next. So I want to create a new private key and I have an existing one. So in this case, I'll leave the cryptographic provider as it is. And actually, I'll just leave everything as they are. Again, remember that SHA-1 is something that's been deprecated. So it's something that you probably don't want to do in a production environment. Before you select any option here again, do your research and do it properly. So CA name, I will just rename this to something more friendly again, to Adatum issuing CA, and I'll click on next. So certificate request, I said, do I want to save the certificate request to a file? Do I want to send it directly to a parent CA? Yeah, I'll just go ahead and just save it to a file. And just click next. So this is the location that's going to be saving it. So it's going to be saving it in the C drive, and I'll see this certificate request here. So I'll go ahead and click next. And again, we'll leave that as default and click next. And then click on configure. So the next thing that I'll be doing is this is the reason why we enabled file and printer sharing on our offline root CA, which is not joined to the domain. So I'll go to CA server 1 and I'll go under the C drive, because what I'll be doing is I'll take this certificate request and transfer it over to the root CA so I can issue the certificate for this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go to, first of all, let's go to the C drive here of this machine. Remember that we copied over the certificate revocation list, and we copied over the certificate of the root CA to this server. So I'll first of all install the root CA certificate. So double click on it, then gives me the option to install it. So again, just forgive my server for being slow here. Eventually catch on. Yep, here we go. And I'll select the option to install certificate. So the store I want is the local machine, and I'll click next. And you can either automatically select the certificate store for me based on the type, or if I know exactly which store I want to place it, which I do in this case, I'll select this option and place it in the Trusted Root Certification Authority store. Okay, click next and finish, and then I should get confirmation that it successfully installed it shortly. It will come up. Yep. But while that's processing in the background, what I'm going to do is the location that we mentioned previously, which is the web location. What I'll do is I'll copy this CRL here and I'll transfer this one. So actually, I think there's something that's missing here. I think there is something that's missing. So we have the CRL here, and I have the certificate of the server here, but I think I'm missing the AI here. So which I'll go ahead and just transfer that from this server. So let's go back here. Let's copy this one also. Let's copy this one here. Okay, so then let's go back to launch server 1, and then we have the AIA and the CRL here. So what I'll do in this case is I'll go under the C drive, under inetpub, under www root, and I'll create a new directory called sat-data, which if you remember, that was the location that was specified in a certificate verification list and in the AIA. So I'll leave this one here, and then I'll transfer these files here. So I'll go ahead and transfer these files over to this location. So now we've published them to that location, and I can close this. Now I'm going to copy this request, copy it. I'm going to paste it in the C drive of the root CA. So paste it there. Then I'll go over to the root CA so I can issue. So let's go back to the C drive, and there's the request for our enterprise subordinate CA. Okay, so certification authority console. Submit a new request. So I'll select the request file and I'll click on open, and then if I go on pending request, yeah, there we go. So there's our request. So I'll just right click on it and say, hey, I want to issue this certificate, counter issued certificate, and here we are. That's the certificate for our enterprise subordinate CA. So now certificate's been issued. Just gonna click on this. I'm just gonna export this particular certificate, copy it to file, next. In this case, I'll select this option, cryptographic message standard PKCS 7. And this again are things that are discussed whenever we're discussing like the theory, because in this case we want this certificate, it's going to contain both the private key and the public key that's been generated. So I'm going to include all the certificates in the path, and I'm going to save this to, yeah, so let's leave it saved to launch server 1. Sub-CA, next, finish, export successful. Okay, so I can close this one. Let's go back to enterprise CA. Okay, here we go. That's a certificate there. So let's go back to, I can close this. I can close this also, open certification authority, yeah. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna import this certificate here and import it. All tasks, and I'm gonna install CA certificate. Go under the C drive where we have a sub-ca.p7b. Click on open. Just wait for a few seconds. Yep, there we go. And refresh. So I right click on this, go to all task, and I'm going to start the service. So what that would do is it's already installed the certificate that was issued by the root CA. So at this point, or from this point on, we can safely power off our root CA and then just let the enterprise subordinate CA do the job. So, but what protection that gives us is that if this CA were to be compromised, we can just go back and switch on our root CA and just revoke the certificate. And that means any certificate that was issued by the CA from then on become invalid whenever there's a certificate revocation list check. So let's just do a bit of testing here. Or let's do something else quickly that'll be useful. Let's publish these the certificates, the root CAs. Let's publish them through group policy. Or actually, what I'll do is let's stop this one now, and I'll just make that a different demo about publishing root CAs in group policy. So I hope this has been really helpful to someone out there. And then just follow on with this series. We'll carry on showing some demos on Active Directory certificate services. Thanks very much. Bye for now.